So in about 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, Luxembourg. Welcome to this unique session on risk, mitigation, and insurance. We are happy to have today our partner and co-founding members, Foyer Group. This session should have happened in March, but as you all know, the world didn't have insurance for COVID. So we had to do it virtually today. So thank you so much for being with us. So without further ado, I will give the screen to Andrea, Marshall, Chris. Please, Andrea, the screen is yours.
So hello, everyone. I introduce us very quickly before starting this presentation. So my name is Andrea. He is Marco. Hello. So our agency is located in Bonnevoie, so not very far away from your office. And we will remain your contact person in case of question or need. Before starting this presentation, I will give you some example what can happen or happened before. So for example, in May 2020, so not some time ago, 3 points from Cactus, maybe you know that they were victim about cyber attack, and these stores will be closed. So what happens, the big problem is the economic loss that they had. And the same project was also for Giorgetti Construction and the printing house Paul Buck that you maybe also know. The second point is the D&O insurances. In the event of a breach or trust presentation, can happen also false balance sheet. They can also be attacked privately from the justice. Okay, really important to know this part here. And the third point is the independent health insurance. Imagine that you go abroad and something happens, you need an operation, so you can't come back again. You will have an impact also your salary. With this plan, you can opt also for a daily allowance. Can start at the 8th, 15th, or 22nd day from your illness. Okay, these are really 3 points just to start this presentation. Marcel will explain you more in details how it happens. So our experts, like I said, will give you more solution and avoid these problems. So what happens also in this moment with this COVID-19, unfortunately, we can't leave you our car business, but I'm sure that Anthony will make the necessary to pass you our contact details. Other things really quickly, this presentation will last a little less than 30 minutes. So maybe take your notes and we will answer on your questions at the end. So thank you very much, everyone. And I will turn it over to our expert, in this case, Marcel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. So yeah, Marshall, if you want to start the presentation. So the main idea of this webinar, guys, is to show you, okay, what are your risks and how you can mitigate them and with the right insurance. So Marshall, please go ahead.
Yeah, you're totally right. And thank you for introducing also this subject. You're right. In fact, I would take simply an image because in fact, running a business is like participating to a car race. You try to launch your own business. We are used to say no challenge, no risk, no business. That means that to cross the finish line, you need a fast car, of course. You need a performing driver, okay? And of course, when you are a starter, let's say the material and human, of course, are the key resources to win your personal challenge. You have some challenges as starters. And of course, during the race, the car can have material troubles. Unfortunately, the driver can also have human health issues. Talking about risk is also talking about insurance, talking about prevention, and talking about your own needs. That means that the main risks about driving a business is like driving a car. Be cautious. And during this particular season, let's say in particular situation for all the business, it's managing risks and trying also to achieve your own challenges. That means that insurance is a solution, but it's not the only solution. And the goal is really to stress the fact that with such a car race, you have, of course, challenges to be faced. And the main risk can be additional costs, not really planned in your budget. That can be a loss of revenue, a loss of income, and those risks can be also addressed thanks to special conditions and special solutions. As a starter, you are in the entrepreneurship minding, let's say, and that's also the reason why we are talking about solutions and tailor-made solutions. First of all, we talk about health, because in fact, health is like the engine in a fast car, you know? When the engine is stopped, no more business can be done. You are in a business-related program, let's say, starting your own business. And without you, you can have the faster PC in the world, the faster material IT in the world. Without you, no business. That means that your health is like the engine, take care about it. Of course, in this particular situation with COVID, everybody is sensible to this topic. And of course, Foyer has developed specific conditions also regarding health. As you can see there, in fact, we have the product Medicis Pro, covering in fact the significant medical expenses, but also the comfort-related expenses, both for inpatient, like the hospitalization, but also regarding the outpatient. What is really specific to that is that a full coverage that is really useful. As I said just before, the main risk is additional expenses you didn't plan. And regarding health, it's quite complicated to make a plan to say, of course, during the 5 next years of my starting business, no trouble, no sickness would occur. Nobody can dictate such assumption. Regarding the product, that's really a full coverage, having the medical consultation fees, medicines, dental, and so on. Perhaps what would be useful for you is talking about money, talking about additional expenses, because in fact, as you can see there, the product with in and outpatient coverages can have significant additional added value, let's say, to your business. If we talk about women driving business, of course, we can also talk about maternity care. Maternity care with Foyer experience, we have more or less 2,000 euros expense like a cost in case of maternity care. Example given, the CNS, so the statutory health insurance in Luxembourg, will refund 900 out of 2,000. That means that 1,100 would be at your charge. In our product, of course, in case of maternity care, the rest, so the Foyer refunds, is 1,100. That means that no more cost in case of maternity care. Of course, when we talk about outpatient, we are also minding about vision heads, also dental, alternative medicines. All about dental is also important because, of course, dental can be just small medicines to be taken out. But on top of that, you can have also more major dental treatments. Example given, if you have a crown, the crown experience is about 800 euro expense. If you just have the CNS refunds, about 240 euros, you still have quite a big invoice to be paid by yourself. So paying this invoice by yourself is a lack of revenue, it's additional expense once again. With our product, that will be refunded up to 500 euros. With heads, that's exactly the same for the spectacle frames, glasses, and so on. We have also such refunds that are covered. And on top of that, more and more we have the alternative medicines where we cover up to 80% of the invoices, and on a yearly basis, 1,000 euro per annum and per insured. Perhaps among the different participants, there is also a high mobility, trying to do business abroad. And also regarding this mobility, being mobile, of course, have other kind of dangers or risks. Experience of our clients going to the US. simply going to the doctor, okay, invoice 700 euros or 800 USDs equivalent, refund of the CNS 40 euro, so 40 euro, meaning that at that time, just going to the doctor in the US is costing a bit. That means that thanks to the solution, the refund by Foyer will be the full coverage of 660 euros. That means that at your charge, no more charge. And of course, when you travel abroad, we have really an expanded situation where you can travel up to 8 weeks abroad. And that will be effective for in and out patients. That's really important. And perhaps also in the great region, as we said, coming from France, Belgium, Germany, perhaps to Luxembourg, that can be also the case of the starters in the LHoFT. From time to time, the hospitalization in Luxembourg is not possible because in fact the surgeon is not enough skilled or experienced for specific treatment or specific surgeries to be done. And in fact, our product is a Europe-wide, let's say, solution. So that's also answering some needs of our clients, wanting to be, let's say, also mobile and having this kind of hospitalization abroad. So we are not really focused on pure territory, so the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, but of course that's also Europe-wide. Mobility is also our key experience. So that's it for the health. Perhaps next, we have also, as we said, driving business like a fast car can also be sometimes in danger when you are facing risk like, okay, I'm sick, but you're sick, no more activity, no more work, no more income, clients waiting for you, but you are not up and running, up and driving your fast car, and of course, loss of income, loss of revenue, meaning that in fact, on top of having additional health costs, let's say, perhaps you will have a loss of income. You don't have to be accountant to understand that it's such a solution, such a situation that can be also quite a challenging situation for you, and perhaps your own business and growing business can be endangered. Now, when we talk, and as we said just before, the loss of revenue, the loss of income due to illness, accident, incapacity for work resulting of, in fact, we have also a solution with a daily allowance to be paid out, to be reimbursed to the self-employed, to the liberal professions. And I don't come into the details here, but in fact, the self-employed are in danger during, let's say, the 3 first months of sickness. You don't have any coverage coming from the Social Security in Luxembourg, except if you subscribe to the MDE, Mutualité des Employeurs in French. But in fact, of course, during this period, no income, and this extra coverage aims to cover the gap, let's say, of income, the lack of revenue during this period. The next, perhaps, the goal, as we said just before, is really to adapt also this daily allowance further to hospitalization or incapacity for work, can be, of course, planned and subscribed based on different variations, let's say, different assumptions. Stopping working as of the 8th day, 15th, 22nd day of stoppage of working. You can have different waiting periods. So waiting period is the duration, the period of time during which there is no allowance paid. Of course, you can have different solutions based on that. And our agency will really advise you regarding the best solution to be taken out based on the kind of business you are driving, but also the level of the income, the net income you can get from your business. So once again, just to close this side, managing a startup is like driving a fast car. Be careful, because on the track you can have dangers, and the goal, of course, of Foyer is to put light on this risk, but also to help you managing this car.
Thank you, Marshall. Very interesting, but just for my understanding, because I'm not coming from the insurance world, and it's a bit complex for me to understand. So, if I'm sick, Foyer will pay my, I would say, allowance, will pay my salary kind of stuff. But what about my business? I had a contract of 1 million to deliver, and I'm not delivering this contract, so my company just lost 1 million. Is Foyer finishing the race for me?
No, that's an excellent question, because in fact, let's say replacing manager is a different topic. You're right, because in fact the loss of revenue is more what was the level of the revenue you had in the past, and we want also to equalize, let's say, this lack of revenue. Of course, if you were treating for 1 million file, let's say 1 million business, this cannot be covered through this kind of solution. But what we try also to address is a lack of regular income. If you have 1 million business each month, perhaps I can send you my CV.
No, let's say more, but let's say that, yeah, maybe 5,000 or 10,000 business lost because I was sick for the last 2 or 3 months. So I didn't have my, I don't know, 5,000 income for my business. Is that covered by the insurance?
No, because in fact, once again, we have more a look at the past. Let's say, what was your last net income that you are able to get from your own business? Okay. And that means that we will cover this level of net income without taking into consideration, let's say, the future potential business that could occur. Okay. We always have a look in the past, let's say, and the goal, once again, is to be well advised what level of benefits of coverage you want to take off. Of course, that's purely proportional. The more you get as a coverage, the more the premium is due. That means there you have to be also well advised. We don't talk about taxes, but of course, this kind of business and solutions that can be provided can be tax deductible also for the self-employed, and the revenue is net of taxes when you get this daily allowance. But of course, we are just looking at what about the regular business, and we try to fill in the gap.
Interesting. Are you gonna tell us, because you almost convinced me, but how much does it cost? It's based on what? I don't know if it's maybe the next slide.
No, because in fact there we have really to analyze, as I said just before, that's based more on the amount to be covered, the line you are selecting there, and the sector. So perhaps if you want to have a simulation about what would be the cost for such level of coverage, of course, our colleagues can also come back and say, okay, this is the level you want, this is the premium you can pay, in fact.
Okay,
but
we'll put them in contact with Marco then. Marco,
yeah, that's really tailor-made. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Good. Thank you so much, Marshall.
You're welcome. Thank you for your questions.
I don't know if we have more questions, but maybe we'll take them at the end. Okay, next slide, I guess. And this is Chris.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hello to everybody. I will take the image that Marshall gave about the driver and the race. I think Marshall spoke about the driver. We will speak about both now. The driver and his liability, but also the material that he has to cover in order to get his car at the end of the race. First of all, the liability. You have two kinds of liability. That is one, the D&O liability, the directors and officers liability. You as a director of a company, you as the owner of a company. And secondly, we will shortly speak about the professional indemnity. In the second part, we will more focus on the material damages and with a high focus on cyber. First of all, the D&O. What is D&O? It's a liability insurance. So it is covering you as a director for your potential liability in case of a claim. There are several kinds of liability, right? There is a criminal liability, there is a civil liability. Both of them are equally important and might be coming into the game. what can happen? You as a DNO, you can be blamed by a regulator. A regulator because you didn't publish your income statements, you didn't, or you are blamed for not having respected the rules and regulations of the commercial law. You can be blamed by one of your employees if you have any, and that can be very harsh, because you might be blamed for having wrongfully fired somebody or ended the contract with not respecting all the details of ending a contract. But you also might be, and it might sound stupid, but you also might be blamed for mobbing or sexual harassment or kind of these things. You might be blamed by a competitor for unlawful competition, for not respecting the rules and regulations of a fair competition. So a lot of people can come into the field and saying, hey guy, you're doing not your business properly. So therefore your personal liability can be engaged. When I say personal liability, that means also your personal belongings, your personal properties, your personal revenues and savings and so on.
Chris, remind me to never invite you for entrepreneurship motivation speech, because
but therefore we are there, and I'm coming to that.
Okay.
You as an entrepreneur, you are facing these risks because you're not only facing running your company, which is your fuel every day in making the best out of your company and out of your ideas. But unfortunately, you don't have control of everything what is going on around you. And being an entrepreneur is not always an easy thing, because there are people who are not willing you to have success, right? And they can blame you rightfully, but they can also blame you wrongfully. And so you have to manage this. And this is where the insurance company comes into the game. We are there to taking away this burden from your day-to-day work, because your daily business is running your business. So as I said, you can be blamed, you have this hassle, you have this potential liability, you have this potential claim. More importantly, it's not only you who is covered, who is considered as an insured, but also your spouse or your recognized partner, your heirs, these are also covered, because people might also claim against them for if you were not able to pay eventually. So these people are protected as well. So we come into the game not only to eventually pay the claim if it seems to be right, but we also dare to take away the burden of your legal defense. So the legal defense costs are taken into care. I think that's important, because you have to concentrate on running your business. If you can take away the hustle of thinking about how to protect myself, how to defend myself, how to find my way in this tsunami of regulations and protections and so on. Was I wrong? Was I right? Etc. This is, and I think the most important part, and very often the biggest part of the claim are the defense costs. As we all know, defense costs might be very expensive, especially in Luxembourg. So therefore, I think this is very important protection and securing your day-to-day business.
Yeah, you are right, Chris. I mean, peace of mind, sleeping at night, knowing that, I mean, you are covered on that side. It's priceless, in fact.
I think right. if you have an issue with one of these parties who can blame you, I think if you give this hustle away to somebody who says your lawyer, your legal advisor, etc., and say, okay, it's in good hands, I think you're absolutely right. You sleep better at night. Absolutely. So next, can go next. So as I said, what do we cover? The pecuniary consequences and also the expenses for the defense. What is important is that you are covered for any wrongful act, and that can be an error, that can be an omission, that can be a lot of things. As I gave you some examples of, for example, not respecting publishing your accounts, or being too late, or VAT or whatsoever. So all these things that is not the core of your business, because your core of business is making this starting enterprise success in the long run, and everything what comes around is something that we don't know, that we don't manage, and therefore I think it's important that you can trust somebody who takes care for you on all of that. Okay, next. That is the basically what we said. The DNO is you as a DNO for managing your company. That is everything what comes around. The professional indemnity is more what you're doing. It's your service, is your service that you are providing, and it's contractual. So you are providing a service and your client is not satisfied and he says your service is not what you promised, is wrong, is not doing what we agreed. So there also, I think there is one, the pecuniary consequences, but also the legal defense that are taken into care, in this part of professional indemnity, which it's especially we all know the professional indemnity of doctors, lawyers, IT, accountants, etc., who have real consultants as well. So all these guys who are promising us or promising something to a client, and the client can say, this is not what we agreed for. That is what the professional indemnity is covering.
Chris, just like I've asked Marshall, how much does it cost? I mean, do you have any kind of range? I don't know if Andrea can answer maybe that question. And my second question is there is a cap? I mean, how much is the liability covering?
The DNO cover price depends on the activity, on the amounts covered, on a lot of things. So I can't give you today a price. This kind of activity costs you that much. It is maybe another example related to that is what does cost the car insurance? Depends on the car, depends on the age, depends on a lot of things. So I can't give you an amount of saying this is what it will cost. What I can tell you is that the DNO cover, for example, you can buy a limit from starting at 500,000 euro up to 5 million or even higher, but most of the time it is between 500 and 2.5 million limits. With sublimits, defense costs are sublimited up to normally 250, 500,000 euro. So you have a large cover for your liability and then sublimits for depending on the additional covers that you buy. PI insurance is the same. So you go from 500,000 up to 2.5, 5 million, whatever. But depending on the limits, the price, of course, will be higher. So difficult to say.
Perfect.
But I think that therefore, if there are questions or precise or concrete questions about this is my activity, this is my scope, I think there Andrea and Marco will be happy to provide you with the necessary information and be able to collect everything to have a tailor-made quote.
Perfect. Any more slides from your side?
Yes, that was the liability side. So
okay.
Shortly about damage now. This one very shortly. This the multi-risk is basically the home insurance for your business. when you have an office, when you have material, you need to cover it because you might have a fire, you might have an overload of something, you might have smoke everywhere in the office, all your IT equipment is damaged, you have to replace it. This is again where the insurance comes into account when you have an issue and this is not your core business. We are taking care of one, paying the damages, but also replacing and as quickly as possible. I think the most important thing here, and that goes a little bit in line with what Martial said, is the loss of income or the business interruption. You have a fire or smoke damage in your office. You can't work for 2-3 weeks. What do? Who is taking care of your business interruption and the margin that you are losing? Again, it is not the future 1 million contract, but what recovering the situation at 1 minute before the loss. What was your financial situation 1 minute or 1 second before the loss? And this will be recovered during this period of time that you are unable to work. But shortly next year, I think yeah, we can go next one. Last but not least, and that is a very actual topic, is the cyber protection. I think today you are all working in startups, fintechs, and etc. We are living in a world of Internet of Things. Everything is connected. We are connected everywhere. Data is everywhere. It's at home, it's in the office, it's in the cloud. So Internet of Things, home working, everybody's working from home now. So data everywhere, connection everywhere, and data became, due to the GDPR, European legislation of 2018, became a very valuable asset. Your client data with the bank account numbers, eventually health information whatsoever, is valuable today. When you say that it is everywhere, information is everywhere, and information is valuable, that means that there are some people who think they can make money out of it. And these are the cyber criminals. These cyber criminals are doing good things. They earn a lot of money. I don't know exactly what is the economy of cyber, but cyber criminals, but it's a huge amount of money. Think about what can happen if your IT system is blocked for in the morning you come in the office, or absolutely nothing. Everything is encrypted. You can't access anything. That is one thing. So you can't work. You have to restore everything, etc., etc. Secondly, what will happen if somebody steals the data of your clients in your database and is threatening you by publishing this? You will be liable for that. We have the regulator, the CNPD, Centre National de Protection des Données, who is controlling everything. And if you have a data leakage, you have to notify it to the CNPD in 72 hours. And they might eventually look at your protection, at your measures that you have taken to prevent hacking and data leakage. And also, what are your mitigation actions? You have to, you have to be very careful, because the fines can be very important. So one is to avoid it. Secondly, if it happens, how to react. And there, I think your cyber insurance provider can help you not only with paying the damages, that is important, but most importantly is the assistance that your provider is able to give you, and working with experts in cyber protection in order to reinstall everything so that you can work quickly again, but also negotiating eventually the ransom with the guys who are threatening you. We also have providers who can help you with legal advice, not only to the all the GDPR regulation, but also how to do the notification to my clients if there is something that has been published, and so on. So repairing the damages, yes, very important, but also dealing with this crisis, which is the case when you are a victim of the cyber protection. So I think when you take away the hurdles and the hustle of everything what can go wrong outside your core and outside your daily motivation of running your business, I think there is where an insurance partner comes into the game. That's it from my side.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. Very interesting. Maybe we can also engage the conversation with our listener. Anthony, I don't know if you can give maybe the mic to Martin. He has any question and how he's dealing with his own protection, because he's also an entrepreneur, and just like Marshall mentioned, he's coming from Germany. Martin, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, Martin. Thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. It was a very nice overview. Yeah, I think I might have a few questions to that.
Go ahead.
First one that came to my mind is actually also related to the LHoFT. Maybe that's also something you, Alex, can answer, because you mentioned that multi-insurance. I assume if we are renting a desk or an office, that is not something considered part of our risk, but rather, I assume the LHoFT has an insurance policy for that as well.
Yes, indeed, we have an insurance policy. Yeah. Yes, with Foyer, our partner.
Sorry?
But with Foyer, our partner, but it's always good that you have your own policies. That's what we suggest to our companies.
Okay, and then especially for the last one, I had another question. So it mentioned the cybersecurity policy. My question would be, to what extent, I think that goes in a similar way to the caps that you mentioned before. I think one of the biggest threats would actually be if there was some kind of data leakage, and there also, I don't know, I haven't heard of any specific of the examples of those, but I think there has been in the press also that data is being locked out from companies, and if you want to get that back and have to pay somebody a few million euros, is there, so these ransom cases, is this also part of the insurance, or is it really about the process of complying with GDPR and the like?
Basically, the ransom itself is not covered, right? But the fines, these are covered. GDPR fines might be covered. But I think you're absolutely right. Well, you're right in the case of we don't know a lot today because more or less 40% of the SMEs acknowledge that they have been victim of cyber attacks. But I think the real amount is, or the real percentage is much higher. And I think that a lot of companies don't make a huge publicity of how much they were threatened to pay if this system is not restored, or when the fine is paid. Very often the ransoms that are asked are not big amounts. It's a couple of thousand bitcoins. Most of the attacks are phishing and malware and stuff like that, and they in order to be very effective, they spread it all around a couple of thousands of companies in the hope that a couple of hundreds will bite to the fish. So very difficult to say. But what we can say is that the cost of also reputation, for example, can be repaid. Rebuild your reputation, that costs you a lot of money, right? You have to make announcements, you have to publish things.
That must be very difficult to evaluate, Chris? It must be so difficult to evaluate. So how do you rebuild? How do you evaluate the trust and the brand itself?
No, you're not paying the reputation, but you're paying the campaign to rebuild your reputation.
Okay, so it's covered by the insurance.
Yeah,
that's good.
All this crisis management is taken care of. Yeah.
Okay.
But there again, Martin, the amounts basically where we're focusing here on SMEs. We are not focusing here. This product is not in for the scope of large accounts, big companies. It's really for the SMEs. So in order to keep the price under control, there are sub-limits, and then there again, Andrea and Marco will be able to, depending on your type of business, your type of risk, they will be able to provide you with kind of tailor-made solution.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps if I can intervene also about that, Chris, perhaps would be interesting to talk about the fines you said just before. You know, regarding the percentage of the turnover that can be reflected, in fact.
For the GDPR, you mean?
Yes, I mean.
The GDPR is 4% of your worldwide turnover. Mm-hmm. So that can be a lot of money.
Because that percentage of the turnover can also perhaps speak more about the business of the audience this morning, in fact, because we also talked about risks, and having this fine is not really in the budget of the companies or of the starting companies also. And perhaps that's also important to know that these fines have been set up further to the GDPR, in fact, rules.
So the GDPR...
what if I just starting the company? I don't have revenue yet. I still have risk. I mean, do you take that in consideration too? Because that's the problem with more startups. Let's face it. They don't have, you know, the last 3 years of income to show you. Is that how do you assess then the?
No, but the 4% is related to the fine that you might have from breaching the GDPR regulation. So there is data leakage, your data you are publishing or data of your clients is published. You might be fined for 4% of your annual turnover, worldwide turnover. So if you don't have any, okay, that's fine. But nevertheless, you have your reputation and probably very difficult. So it's only the reputation. Here, we're not speaking about the price of the insurance cover. This is really depending on your type of activity, on your the covers that you want, and the limits that you buy. But that is really tailor-made.
Okay, perfect. Martin, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I have one more, if I can. So I was always wondering, so if I understand it correctly, in most insurance policies, so covering all of those, usually there is a retention amount agreed. And is there any recommendation from your side how high this should be? Because I understand the insurance should mainly serve to prevent the business from failing. So does it make sense to put up probably higher retention rate and then most likely never use the insurance, but just to really make sure that it's serving this one purpose of saving the company, basically. So is there any recommendation how high you would put that retention amount?
I think that depends on your financial situation. I think what you personally, what you should avoid is that your insurance protection, whatever it is, the fire or whatever contract you subscribe, is that it becomes a kind of maintenance contract. Do you need, and I give you another example, which we didn't, well, multi-risk, for example, if there is a glass breakage in your office that costs you €100, do you want the insurance to intervene or not? Or do you say, I can pay this €100 myself? I think this is the kind of balance that you have to make. Can you afford as a company to have to support €1,000, €2,000, €5,000? It depends on your financial strengths and your risk appetite. But you're absolutely right. The ultimate goal is avoiding that you have difficulties to go on with your business the day after. In every kind of insurance contract. So do you need this insurance for this up to a certain limit? Or do you say, I can live with, I only insure for fire, because if there is a water damage, I would recommend you to also insure water damage, because that can be very, very big. But it really depends on your financial situation. But Luxembourg motor car insurance, for example, has no deductible, basically none. Unless if you are a bad driver, then we will impose you one. But normally there is none. So it depends really from market to market. In Germany, there are deductibles, retentions. Luxembourg, fewer, but you always able to decide yourself. Depends on your treasury.
Perfect. Is that clear, Martin?
Yeah, thanks.
Good. We still have Robert on the line. I don't know, Robert, are you still with us? Do you have any questions? We still have 5 minutes to go. Robert?
Hi, how are you? Hold on for 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're actually, you're kind of a bit further along than I'm looking at right now, because I'm just looking to start a business in Luxembourg, and I thought I'd sit in on the session, but I mean, the information was very, very good, I have to say. But I'm still early stage.
Okay, so get in contact with those guys when you think is the right moment. But
yeah, I did.
Later.
Yeah, I was in touch with Nasir last week, so yeah. I thought I'd take this one and just
perfect
sit in. But no, it was very informative. Thank you.
No, I mean, it's something. I built startups myself, and it's something I never really thought about, you know, and. I mean, it's insane the kind of problem that can happen. And Chris mentioned it when he started, and was quite gloomy as a prospect about being an entrepreneur. But to be honest, you can even be sued by your own investors because the business didn't went as the business plan promised it would be.
Of course, yeah.
And that's quite shocking, because that's the least you will expect from investors is to pursue you in court. But it's costly. You don't sleep during the night, and having the insurance, I mean, that could be a good help.
Oh no, I definitely think so. But I think to begin with, it's probably going to be 2 of us. So you know, we're going to be a very small startup to begin with, and then obviously, I mean, ideally, look to grow. You know?
You're going to have to grow. You're going to have to make sure that you're insured. Guys, thank you so much for this session. Thank you to Chris, Marshall, Andrea for making that happen, and Marco. Martin, thank you for being with us, Robert too, and I will get you guys in touch, okay? Thank you so much. Enjoy the end of the week. Stay safe, stay home, and take insurance for that. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Still in about 3, 2, 1.